Hey everyone, I'm really excited today to have Annik Petrou with us. Now, she has over 30 years experience in being scared of speaking and declining speaking opportunities due to the fear of looking silly in front of peers and other nerve-related issues. Now, this all reached its peak in 2011 at a speaker training course, and enough of wasting time worrying about what others might think, Speaker Express was born. Since then, they have helped thousands of entrepreneurs to successfully pitch for investment and funding, gain the confidence to push their business from home office to the stage, speak on TEDx stages, or landing big corporate contracts. Now, besides training and speaking, Annik loves her strawberry blonde cockapoo Roxy, exploring the English countryside and red velvet cupcakes. Usually, but not always, in that order. Annik has also had to come her own health battles with fatigue. So today we will be sharing some insights into what Annik has learned about healing and coming back from burnout and fatigue, and some great tips for you all about how to communicate with confidence. So welcome, Annik.
Hello, great to be here.
Excellent. Let's get straight into it. Hey, I know we've got a lot to talk about. Now, you talk about enough being enough, where you had your turning point of being scared to talk in public. What actually happened? What was that turning point for you?
Look, I'm German, and by nature, apparently, I think it's other nationalities as well, but we are control freaks. And I always, whenever I found myself, even just like in a small group setting, when they said, "Oh, can you just say your name and what you do?" It's like my heart would go when I thought like I might explode and blush and shake and sweat. And I wasn't in control. And that really bugged me. So for me, it was really taking back control of what happened to my body and my mind in those situations, because they keep happening, don't they? When you climb the career ladder or build a business.
Absolutely. So you'd had so many of those moments that you kind of went one day, right, I've got to explore this deeper and further and find out, like, is that kind of what happened to you? So then does that start your journey on looking at how the mind and body were connected, or why you were feeling nervous? How did that kind of unfold for you?
Well, I wish it would have been that straightforward. I just joined like generic like presentation groups, even like Toastmasters, for example.
Right.
I did this for a number of years in London. And the problem was, after a year of Toastmasters, at the end, I was talking and thinking, I feel the same. I have not improved. The same stuff comes up, shaky hands, blushing, sweating, dry mouth. Then I realized it's not about learning all the technicalities, how to stand, where to look, what to do with your hands, but it's about really going inside. It's about understanding what triggers all that. And we just often mask it with certain techniques, but they're not getting you anywhere. They're just kind of, masking the problem. And then it's still all like going havoc inside.
That's really interesting. I'd love to go into that a little bit further actually down the track. Now, when you realize though, you had a point where you hit burnout as well. So can we go there for a moment? What happened to your health? Was this related in your shift to the public speaking, or was that connected in any way?
No, unfortunately, yes, but simply because I left a corporate job to start a business. So over between 2011 and 2016, I just pushed. I worked genuinely hard in a really silly way, because I put in like 12, 14 hours, get up at 6, still work at midnight. And I would with a badge of honor, because I'm building a business. Tough.
Sure.
And then we had our honeymoon here in Australia. It must be, I think it was a health retreat, Camp Eden, in either New South Wales or Queensland or on the border. And it was amazing. And I had this session of reflexology. And then she kept talking to me about my adrenals. And I was like, what is she on about? It's like, okay, fine, whatever. And then over the next year, I just constantly felt fatigued, and, things just got worse. I had problems with my guts. And, your body always gives you signals, but because we're tough and we have things to do, we just really brush them under the carpet, because we can still breathe, think, get out of bed and function. So
that's interesting. How long did that go on for before you looked further into it and thought that you can't keep going like that?
I broke down twice. Once in one of our speaker trainings, when I was just sharing with our members in like a private group, that I wasn't feeling well. And then the tears came up. So, oh my God, I'm such a loser. Now everyone is realizing, that I'm an imposter and I'm not actually, that leader of this business I was aiming to be. Oh, it was mortifying. And then I thought I was slowing down, and a lot of people listening probably can relate to that. You think you're doing all the right things, you sleep a bit more, you do yoga, breathing exercises. But what I did is I was just adding more to the existing pain and fatigue already, thinking it will help instead of just completely switching off. So I stopped working a bit less. Still on the inside, if I then didn't work or try to, just like watch Netflix or read a book, it would still work on the inside because there was an underlying belief, my grandma's voice saying, if you don't work hard enough, you won't succeed. And I never realized that adrenal fatigue can be way harder than just the physical symptoms on the surface. There's so much more to it. And that was quite shocking to discover. And I think the biggest really breakdown for me was when I was booked to MC a friend's book launch. I couldn't do it. I wasn't able to do it. And I was lucky enough that I had an amazing business partner. I just called him up. It's like, you have to do it. I can't even think straight. It was terrible. And feeling weak, as a woman in the corporate world or running a business, I think it's getting better now because we talk about it. But like even just a couple of years ago, it was just such shame and guilt that came with it, embarrassment, disappointing others, but mostly yourself, by not functioning like everyone else who's like pushing and hustling.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. So at that point there, you had to get your friend to take over for that particular event. So then what did you do? Because that seems like a second turning point that kind of put the brakes on again. Because it's interesting, actually, I'd like to go back a step. You said that you were doing the right things in theory. So the yoga, the meditation, I suppose the tools you were adding to your lifestyle, but you said that then it was pushing it to be overdoing it. So it's like you were adding more, although with very good intention, but you still realized you had to pull back completely. Is that what it was? Can you go into that a bit more for us? Because I think it's so relevant for people listening.
Yeah, because it's so individual with burnout. You share it with your best friends or with some, fellow entrepreneurs, and everyone says something else. CBT has helped me. I see in my hypnotherapist, I go to the spa, or like have some chocolate cake and bubbles. Like this whole self-care regime is also overrated because then people leave it until the end of the month. They push themselves, and then at the end of the month, it's like, oh, I need a day off. And it's just not how it works. I have found, now years later, like I moved to Australia recently and left my business behind in the UK, not by choice, but it's just how it turned out. But it also forced me to take time off. It wasn't my intention to take 10 months off, but when I came over here, I couldn't work. It took quite a while to get the visa together. We couldn't start the business because COVID had hit, so I was forced I wasn't forced to sleep more, but I had loads of time, and I was just like, at some point, I was just like, let's just see what happens. I never thought this can happen. And I'm sure, everyone listening, I'm sure you might be thinking, I can't even just take a day off. I have kids and, there are people there. But it's always this weird concept. If you have a really busy day and you have a pipe bursting in your home, and there's a water damage, you suddenly have to be there because you have to sort it out, and it's the same with our health. Like we don't prioritize it enough. And I think for many of us, we just really have to hit rock bottom. Like for me, the last sign of rock bottom was when my memory went. Like my business partner would say to me, Annik, we have discussed this twice. And I'm like, I had no recollection, zero. And, that's when I realized, wow, I'm seriously, genuinely, and sorry for swearing, fucked up, like so badly in my head.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Mental fog's really common as well, and the memory loss as well, and short-term sorts of things as well. So within the last 10 months, then what has your day gone from looking like to looking like recently? So yeah, so give us a bit of a comparison there. What was your busiest day looking like, and what do you do? What have you been doing now to allow that restoration to happen a bit more?
So what I noticed is obviously at the beginning, I went to all the local yoga classes. Like, I live in Sydney in the eastern suburbs, and yoga is a thing. Like, you live in your active wear, basically. Put on a dress
Yes.
today for everyone. But I started not feeling better. I was still fatigued after doing 3 months of yoga. And, at some point I was just like, hang on a minute, I'm a woman. Men can do this as well. I have an innate wisdom inside me. And I just started to sit down just for 5 minutes and just start to feel. You ask me now, how are you? I'm great. But if I really feel, it's like I feel a bit nervous because I have a session to run later. It's my first speaking gig. I haven't been speaking in a while. And there's a sense of anxiety, and there's a part of imposter syndrome. And I wasn't realizing that all of that was going on. I was just masking it, by going
Mm.
to a yoga class and thinking I was doing all the right things. I cried a lot, a
Yep.
heck of a lot.
Yes.
And I slept a lot. And some people then sometimes say the more you sleep, you have even less energy because you have to exercise, because energy builds energy. But I just listened to myself, and I was like, you know what? I just have to sleep. That's how it feels like. And for like 4 months, I must have slept 12 hours a day. And
Yep.
I'm lucky that I can do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing too. I want everyone to know who's listening that if you have hit that burnout, slight point, or the full adrenal fatigue, as we've been explained by our wonderful doctors at the start, all different stages, just know, please know not to judge yourself. And Annik, like this is something I'm sure you would agree with, right? That's a message I want to get out to people. Please don't be judgmental of yourself. If you have to sleep 12 or 14 hours a day for a period of time in your life, that's okay, right, Annik?
People
Listening to
underestimate
your
how much
body.
it can, honestly, genuinely, and I never thought that. I discovered I had a mild level of burnout in 2016. It's nearly 2021. I only now feel better,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I never really had that time to
Yes.
calm down.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's an important thing too. Now, tell us then, in terms of speaker training and confidence. Now, this is really interesting because confidence is a big topic, but I feel that when people have been fatigued or hit burnout or kind of reassessing their health and their life, I went through it myself, you do lose a bit of confidence. It diminishes because you might have feelings of unworthiness pop up, like you were just explaining. For me, it was not keeping up with my colleagues at busy gyms and teaching to, spin and boxing classes and coming home for sleeping for 3 hours. So I'm, I'm on board with the sleeping thing. In terms of confidence, what would you say to people to build back up from confidence if they're feeling not quite themselves?
There's so many things. First of all, you have to really find a way to take time out if you lose your zest for all the things you normally love doing. I loved running the business, but part of me couldn't be bothered. It was hard work. I didn't socialize anymore. There was no fun in my life. Like, even when we went for a couple of days away, I just didn't enjoy it. I wish I just wouldn't have been there, and it was just really, really terrible. So for me, the confidence really affected me mentally because I didn't feel human anymore, and I feel depending on where you're at, you will feel yourself being physically, mentally, and or emotionally drained. And then again, as I said before, like, just don't run around and take advice from many people. Sit down yourself and just really feel into yourself. It's the most important lesson I've learned. Even if it's only like 5 minutes a day, something will come up and you will have intense realizations. Saying that, if you have also hit clinical depression, levels of anxiety, so you can't sit, you can't meditate, it doesn't work. If you're really at that late stage of adrenal fatigue or burnout and even depression,
Yes.
then maybe you probably have to go on medication to really calm your system down. And I feel personally the most important advice I would give to all women and men listening is embrace your dark side. I have
Mm,
worked so hard to make sure no one finds out how weak I was.
right.
And that's hard work. That drains your energy as well, you know. So over
It
time, I
does,
just
doesn't
started,
it?
yeah.
You're
And
absolutely right. Can you go into that a little bit for us?
sure. So for example, on a yearly basis, we would run a conference for female speakers in London, and I would share. I had like a period of time where I was on medication, and I think when the conference started, it must have been my second or third week. And anyone who has ever taken anti-anxiety medication, like the side effects at the beginning are horrendous. You know, I felt like I was on speed, like I was like tense, and you know, it was terrible. But I was like, okay, I just have to bite the bullet here, and I just have to share it with the audience because I felt they could see it. I thought it was written all over my dress, you know, the
Right.
beautiful green dress I was wearing. And, you know, that I felt mortified, but I had people coming up after me saying, thanks so much for sharing this, you know. But generally, you know, I wouldn't say to people, run around and tell everyone what your demons are,
Sure.
because you want to share from a healed scar, not an open wound, because it makes you very
Mm,
vulnerable to everyone who will give you like really well-meaning advice, and that can be dangerous as well. If you're very vulnerable, you know, you feel it has helped her. Why is it not helping me? And you know,
absolutely. That is
deflating.
such a key that you just pointed out there. Share
Yeah.
from a healed scar, not an open wound. Really powerful. I think that certainly applies to all different areas of our life when we're looking to build it all back together. So, taking time out for yourself and having those moments where different thoughts may come up for you and acknowledging them and working through them, that seems a big key that you've learned. Can you give us some other little tips as well? So, if we've kind of come face to face with our, you know, other sides or our dark side or whatever you want to call it, how can we then build some confidence from there? Is it kind of something that happens straight away, or do you feel you need to go through like almost like, sounds like a cleansing process we have to go through if we've hit burnout, right? You kind of have to detox your life, cleanse a few things, reset your lifestyle. So what happens from there with confidence building?
So when it comes to confidence, genuinely, I'd say it's an ongoing process. Like often I feel first women, certain time of the month, I can be the most confident person on Monday, and then by Friday I feel insecure and I don't know what's wrong with my life, and I feel like the biggest loser on this planet who hasn't achieved anything. Understanding our cycle, that triggers certain emotions, very, very important. But also, like for years I've done yoga because everyone says like, you got to do yoga, it's so good for you. I hate it. I've never realized that I actually fucking hate yoga. And you know, I now work with a functional pattern practitioner, which is more like, you know, kind of building stronger natural movements. Like if anyone wants to look up functional patterns, it has changed my life. Like it has been incredible. Another thing I started doing once I felt better was the Wim Hof breathing, the
Okay.
cold water exposure. It has brought my energy back. I felt like once, you know, now I do this since August, since a couple of months weekly. You know, you jump into like a bucket, not a bucket, but like a tub of like
Yes.
-1 degrees of cold water for a couple of
Okay.
minutes. And that has really helped. I love improvisation. You know, that's something I love. You got to find what really, really, really sparks you up. And
Yes.
also understand, it's really random, but I find understanding your nervous system is really important. Like
Mhm.
people always talk about extroverts and introverts. I feel I have an extroverted personality, but I have the nervous system of a highly sensitive introvert. And you know, I will share this in the link, Vanessa, will send out. Like there is
Yeah.
this American woman, and there's a test scale how where you can see how highly sensitive you are, you know. And it has changed a lot because that made me realize why I want to walk out of a loud restaurant. You know, I don't go with friends to loud restaurants. I simply can't handle it. It's torture for me, you know. And everyone who really had a big week, you know, if you have the ability, like for example, if any speakers are listening, like a 45-minute keynote to a room of 2,000 people, it can take the energy of running a whole marathon out of you, you know. And then
Absolutely.
if you book a whole another day of business meetings the next day, you will just fatigue.
Yeah.
It's just what happens, you know. But also understand that some people are more extroverted, like my husband, he's such an extrovert. and I'm not measuring myself against him anymore. And
Yes.
he used to, like he used to probably think, oh, she's lazy, she spends a day in bed. Hell yes, I do. And hell yes, I'm selfish. I'm not cooking today. Get
Mm.
yourself a takeaway. It's just what it is. And it's,
Absolutely. I think this really stands out to me as being true to yourself,
yeah,
no matter what's going on,
hard.
right?
It's
Being
so
true to
easy.
yourself, letting your partner or your family or your close people know that, hey, I'm going through this. Removing guilt around it's really important, because otherwise you could have sat there in bed feeling bad for not cooking for your husband or whatever it was, or him having an expectation about social life. I know when I was going through it, I had to say no to a lot of social outings, and the friends and family and my partner didn't quite get it. I was like, you guys don't understand. I have to be home in bed by 9:30 p.m. Otherwise my adrenals are going to go spiking through the roof at 3 a.m. and I'm going to feel horrible the next day. But juggling those social interactions and expectations of people without taking it on, which depletes your energy more if you take it on in a negative way, right? How can people kind of, I suppose, stay true to themselves, Annik, throughout this whole process?
You know what I've noticed? The last couple of weekends, I've just always done, like we went camping, we went canyoning, abseiling, we always did stuff. And I knew, like, I can't, I needed to be there because I had the fear of missing out, it's fun.
Yes.
But this entire weekend coming up, like everything I had in my calendar, I just kicked it out, every single thing. I'm not going to go for breakfast with a friend. I'm not going to get the carpet cleaner over, nothing. I'm not even like, checking my emails or booking an event or, something like you have to force yourself, and your brain will go, oh, I feel a bit better. Let's just do this. Just,
Right.
just get as lazy as you can. Maybe even have a not to-do list. If you're
That's
like,
great.
because I have this impulse. It's like, let's just cook a bit of salmon instead of getting a takeaway. No, get the takeaway. Write on your list, no cooking. Everything that might deplete your energy. And what is also really interesting, what I have noticed, like I think it was Wayne Dyer. I love listening to him. He said, like, most humans live in a house of 1,000 rooms, and
Yes.
we only use one room,
Mm.
or we only live in our I'm not confident room or in the imposter room. Instead of just really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and start seeing other realities, start seeing the other 997 rooms as well, and the possibilities they are there. You will always have days where you feel non-confident, fatigued. I always use the word loser. I feel like a loser. It's just what it is. And I
Yeah.
noticed this earlier. I went to Office Works because I needed to get a clicker. And suddenly I'm like, I had the clicker, I had my wallet, but my car key was gone.
Uh-huh.
It's like, what the hell happened? Because I walked in with it, and now I can see the little things. If I misplace one thing, I know I need to sleep. I need to take time out. I found my
Yes.
car key, thank God. But, it's paying attention to the little signals is so crucial.
Absolutely. A few of the other experts have brought that up as well, interestingly, looking out for these red flags. So perhaps if you're listening, just starting to be mindful of your red flags, because we've all got these ingrained habits, don't we? And you're right. If you're starting to get a bit, I'm the same as you, Annie. If I'm a bit fatigued or heading to that point myself, and I kind of know my boundaries now, I'm like, oh, I actually lost my keys in Officeworks too. It must be an Officeworks thing. It's not us. I had the baby. I'm not kidding. How funny that you said that. But yeah, I think I went there when I was tired. I had the baby, and then I had like the books and things for my toddler, and like, no, it was my phone. I was like, oh, what? My phone or my keys in Officeworks. So everyone stay clear of Officeworks. Don't go when you're tired. Sorry, jokes aside though. Yeah, keeping mind of these red flags and things. Is there anything else that you can kind of give people a few tips on here? And talking about more so now, let's say that we have reassessed, we're starting to take time out for ourselves, we're looking out for the red flags and becoming more mindful in our life. And let's say you want to start a new job or a business or get out there a little bit and do some speaking of some regard. What are some tips you can give someone there to remain stress-free?
So one of the most powerful things I've ever heard someone say is, you want to create a life, what did they say? You want to create a life you don't want to escape from, if that makes sense. So you feel relaxed on a daily basis. And like, one thing, I always read this in the morning, just find one quote, something. The more often you read it, it will ingrain into your personality. If someone asks me how I am, for a couple of weeks, I used to say I'm perfect. Didn't feel perfect. Most of the time I felt shit. And I swear a lot. But now someone asks me, how do you feel? It's like, I'm perfect. And I feel it,
Right.
and it's true. And it's really, really nice to kind of start building healthier habits, but also understand that maybe sometimes you have to work harder, and hear me out on that. Instead of doing your 8-hour workday, for example, if you're more productive in the morning, put 3 hours in the morning, build an imaginary fence around those 3 hours and just give it your all. And then you can potentially take the afternoon off, like speak to your boss and just say, this works better for me. Because I sometimes realize everything I really need to do during the day, I can get done in those 3 hours, but I dawdle around,
Yes.
because I'm not focused, or there's an impulse that hits my head and says, oh, you must go to the fridge now and eat this cookie, But if you force yourself to really do that for a bit, that really works. And schedule rest. I'm scheduling in my diary. I have 3 bloody diaries. I'm scheduling it in all 3 of them. So the rest of my team knows as well, and
Yes.
that's just important. And just don't let anything come in, not even washing the car, that
Yes.
takes training. People always talk about, when you have burnout, you have to learn to say no to other people. But the most important thing is you have to learn to say no to yourself.
Right.
Because something will trigger, because you don't want to disappoint that person. Say no. Forgive yourself for disappointing someone, and really switch to your blah, blah, blah. Switch to your relaxation channel.
Yes. Yes, exactly. This is fantastic. I think it's such great reminders you've given us, being more mindful of your habits, looking out for the red flags, and not feeling guilty if you have to say no, but I love the not to do list. That's actually super, super helpful, I think, too, for people, because if anyone's hit it with a fatigue level, it's to do. I have to, like you said, overloading with the stuff that fixes you then. So let's be mindful of that as well. This has been yes, go ahead, Annik.
We need to give Tim Ferriss credit, because the
Yes.
not to-do list comes from him. He's just incredible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Tim Ferriss, for that one. I think we will all take that on board. Excellent. Well, would you like to finish up with any other helpful advice or a bit of your story for our audience today?
Yeah, my favorite thing I have learned over the years, it's the session actually I'm running this afternoon. It's called Falling in Love with Public Speaking, right? But what it actually is, and what people will realize at the end, is falling in love with yourself. Like, self-love is the highest of, I'm not like fully there yet. I know that, I'm quite needy. If I do sales and I get rejected, I still want to be friends with that person. They might buy in the future, but you know what I mean? It's like, self-love is an ongoing journey, but it's just the most rewarding thing in the world. When you walk around and someone rejects you and you're like, that's situational, it's not personal. And really ingraining that takes time. None of this is easy, and especially, if you have kids like you, Vanessa, and, running a business and juggling so many things. Crazy. I was just thinking, maybe all women who have children should have 2 husbands. So they have more time for themselves. Really?
Yes. I said, I even said recently to some of my family, look, I need a nanny right now, and that's kind of frowned upon, right? But, and again, no judgments to anyone. Like, everyone does their own thing in life. Like, in these interviews, we're not here to sway you guys either way for any of this. It's just our own personal experiences. But that was funny, because I was like, yes, Annik, you're not wrong. I need 2 helpers maybe here helping me out here with the boys, because it is tough right now. like with a business and a baby who's teething and a very active 3-year-old toddler. But, you know, everyone has their own challenges, and I respect that. And I respect you for speaking to us today, and everyone else for taking time out to learn this as well. Where can people connect with you, Annik?
So LinkedIn, Instagram is my favorite place because it's the least convoluted, I find. Like, I get Facebook anxiety. Like, seriously, I know Instagram is part of Facebook too, but at least it's a bit more chill. But I will also set up an Eventbrite page. If anyone wants to have a chat, you know, I'm happy to give you the time, because trust me, what I went through is preventable. And oh my God, if someone would have just given me 15 minutes of their time helping me, you know, to not waste 4 years of my business career, priceless.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope that you got so much out of this interview. Do connect with Annik and let us know how you went with this. We'd love to hear from you, and we will catch up again soon. Bye.